Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode in this series of engineering leadership. Today we have Anthony Martinelli, who is a director of engineering at Charter Communications. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So
Yes.
happy to be here, Tracy. Thank you.
Yes. And we've known each other for quite some time now. With COVID, I feel like it seems like, but it's been what, 5+ years since we've known each other, right? So
That sounds about right.
it's a while. It's what we're all getting old. Um, but Anthony, I love your story. I've seen you like grow, generally within your career, and I feel like you've done like an excellent job with your team. And I wanted to invite you here to just kind of hear about, your story and like, maybe first starting off with like your story into tech. So please tell us all the stories.
And I have to go back a few years, but a part for me is being able to show people that, hey, no matter where you started at, you put your head down, you can really get there. So
Hmm.
I was a high school dropout, young father at 17, married at 19, started in the pizza business. Went through all different kinds of positions in pizza, driver, insider, manager. I was a general manager for about a decade. 2007 rolled around, and it was the Great Recession, I think, is what that one's called. And it hit me pretty
The
hard.
financial collapse.
Mhm. Yep, yep. Hit me and my family pretty hard. We lost our home, and as I was evaluating that, I was like, hey, I want to kind of change industries, maybe find something that's a little bit better in a bad economy. Um, Decided to return to school, and was fortunate enough to in my life I've been very good at mathematics. Well, what makes sense for so engineering kind of made sense, but then what makes sense beyond that? Always enjoyed getting on the computer, so computer science then made sense. Spent about 6 years working on my degree. Then got my first job in tech. Was a full stack engineer. Um, was really happy with that. Learned a lot in the 2 years I was there, and then made the transition here to Charter. And my time at Charter has just been amazing. It's
Yeah.
been really nice.
So you had like multiple kids, a full-time job,
Mhm.
and you still went and got an engineering degree for six
Yes,
years.
yes, yes,
How?
yes. It took me a little.
I guess where
Um,
there's a will,
uh,
there's a way.
yeah, lots of caffeine,
Yeah.
and not enough sleep. That was probably
Yeah.
the big one. And really just a lot of determination to try to change things for the better. Um,
Yeah.
I learned from the mistakes that I don't want to call them mistakes, the decisions that I made when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for me to call them mistakes. They kind of all led to where I am today. Very happy with where I am today.
Yeah. I always find
Um,
that, right? Like
yeah,
I look
yeah,
back on my life and I'm like, well, I like who I am right now. So was it a mistake? It made me who I am. So, you
yep.
know, what would a different path have been, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then
My
now
father.
you're direct. Sorry, what?
Oh, my father-in-law would put it as, it's not what I had that made me who I am. It's what I didn't have that made me who I am, right? And having to struggle and fight for that. That always kind of resonated with me. So,
That's very true. I think everybody has different paths in life, right? But I think definitely for me, going through a period of not having any money or having to live off of $20 to feed two people for a week
yep.
was helpful. Now, was it fun? No, but it was helpful.
Here.
Yeah. So, okay, so now you're director of engineering at Charter, and you recently made that transition, correct?
I say recently, about a year and a half now.
Yeah, forever ago, basically.
Yeah.
um,
Sounds like a
well,
long
what
time ago. It's flown right by.
I know. Well, what are some of the biggest challenges going from engineering manager to a director of engineering?
The your team grows, and
Mhm.
that brings with it just a lot of constraints on time. It's hard to get
Uh-huh.
time with people, and then build up that relationship that you may have had previously when your team was smaller and you're able to engage with folks on a more one-to-one, one-on-one basis. Um, so I started with a team of 6. I now have a team of about 30. And as my team has grown, it has been increasingly challenging to get that one-on-one time with everybody so that they all know, kind of who I am, and what my belief systems are, and what's important to me. And to me, it's a really big investment in, all the people on the team. I would, if I could, I would sit down with each of them hours of each day to understand what they're going through, and see what I can do to help them out. But I don't have the time to do that. I have other high level things that I need to keep an eye on, and make sure my team can stay focused, and I can remove blockers for them, which takes away from the time that I can sit down with them and really get to know them on a one on one.
Yeah, do you ever get one-on-one time with them?
I do, but not as frequently as I would like.
Yeah.
Definitely not as frequently as when my team was 6. I think
Yeah.
when we were a team of 6, we spent hours together every day just
Very
in a
tight.
room. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, you can fit everybody in a conference room. Do you like have any sessions regularly with your team right now, like a team of 30?
Yeah, so we're working on transitioning from one technology stack, a C# stack, into an Angular stack. And as a part of that, we're trying to help the developers that are making that transition kind of level up on Angular and get to know things, all things Angular, kind of moving away from that, object oriented imperative paradigm, and moving into a functional reactive one. And with that comes some differences in how they need to think about solving problems and what the right solution is there. And it creates some challenges, and if it were me, I would be really struggling with my confidence in moving into a new technology stack like that as well. And when I saw that, it was okay, well, what can I do to help out there? So I set aside the last hour of each day, with myself and my senior managers and my lead developer, and anybody else that would like to join, and we sit down and we go through whatever problems they might be facing throughout the day. We might go over high level architectural patterns that we use within the application. We're pretty heavy on the NGRX and RxJS side of things, and so I've spent a few sessions now, kind of going over that. The data flow for from Redux, that we use in GRX, unidirectional data flow. I'm going through that and what all the different parts do, and going over the dev tools, the Redux dev tools, and how powerful those can be when you're wired up, and using those. Teaching the team to use that. Different accessibility gotchas, going from XAML and Xamarin to HTML and Angular, and really hammering on accessibility with the team, and helping them with any questions they may have. And then we move into the RxJS world, and really understanding what each little piece is doing, and being able to explain that to the team. So there's a lot of high
Yeah.
level, going deep. Well, I say high level, going pretty deep in the weeds on this stuff. We'll go through the code examples and things like that. But we also
Hmm.
have it open for any stories you might be struggling with. Bring it there, and we'll work it out together, and we'll turn it into a teachable moment.
Yeah, that's really cool. Are all directors of engineering at Charter like so involved in the code? I mean, I think you have a little bit of a I mean, I don't know how all other directors there get promoted, but from going from an engineer to an engineering manager to a director of engineering, like you have so much foundational knowledge that you can share, which I think is
I
not
do.
common, or at least it doesn't seem as common.
No, and part of it is I'm stubborn, and I'm not going anywhere. I love my job here, and
Yeah.
I've been here for a long time. They've treated me really well, and I've had a hand in helping and supporting a lot of different sides of our application, which has left me with deep domain knowledge throughout the application. Um,
Yeah.
we've, I would say that we have varying skill sets when it comes to the different directors in terms of their technical skills and just how deep in the weeds that they're willing to get. But that, you know, all of them first and foremost are making sure that their team's needs are met, and which I think is probably the most critical part anyway. So they definitely deliver on that stuff, and they're able to perform at a high technical level, but just lack the domain knowledge that I have.
Yeah.
I've been here for.
Yeah. I love that. What are some of the other challenges? I mean, we talked a little bit previously talking just about like imposter syndrome. Do you ever feel that or
Yeah, every day. Yes, yes, every single day. You know, I kind of look around and I'm like, I don't know who made the decision to put me in charge of this many people, but I don't think it was the right decision. Um, you know,
Well,
Decision
you care so much
paralysis.
for your people, so
That's that's the one. Actually, that is the one thing that really helps me to get through it. Is it's kind of looking at it, going, well, I'm here and I'm watching over the team. At least I can help in that regard. And
Yeah.
then uh, approach each and every day with, well, let's solve today's problem, and uh, trying
Yeah.
to take a step back and look at it as a problem. It helps me a bit, but I still suffer from imposter syndrome day in and day out.
Well, I'm assuming just kind of like as you transition, you're having to work more across organization as well.
Yes,
Right. So, what is that like, or what are some of the challenges you experience there?
and the imposter syndrome will rear its ugly head there as well. As I sitting around, I interface with more leaders now than I did previously, and it's I always have to take a step back and come back to the, well, I'm here to help people and solve problems, and that helped me to kind of to bring it in a little bit, have good conversations. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of good leaders. Regardless of how terrified I might be by their title, they're able to sit down and I can come to them rationally and solve a problem, and you bring logic and reason, and they're pretty receptive to that, which is very helpful.
Yeah.
Um, it terrifies me, and that's one of the harder things about moving into a director role is just interfacing with executive leadership more.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Um, so I know, I mean, just even in our conversation right now, you really care about your people and things like that. What do you think one of the biggest challenges is right now when it comes to engineering and leadership?
And I think it's probably a challenge that has been there since day one, but it's retaining engineering talent.
Hmm.
Uh, you finding the right people. We spend a lot of time investing in our interview process and making sure we hire the right people. And the second part to that, and arguably the more important part, is what focus you put on retention and retaining a good team. And I would look at that and say that a good team is one that's inclusive, and one where the team feels like their voice is heard and that they have the support
Hmm.
they need to get it done. Um, and it's just I've been very fortunate to be surrounded also with a lot of very good people from the beginning on my team. They're all incredible. They do a great job in welcoming new folks to the team and helping them to get up to speed on all of the weird domain intricacies here within Charter. They my team is very supportive, uh, and I try to be very supportive, as supportive as I can be. I do run out of time, unfortunately. Kind of back to the one-on-one piece. It's a little bit harder for me, but I do try to make sure I prioritize my team. I look at my role here, and I would tell you one of the most critical parts about my role is making sure that my team remains unblocked and are able to get their job done day in and day out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to take a quick break to get a quick word from our sponsor, which is my company, This Thought Labs. Um, Thank you so much to my team for allowing me to have fun conversations like this conversation I'm having with Anthony. Without them, it would not be possible. We are a development consultancy. We specialize in application development, helping upgrade legacy systems. We get to work with some awesome companies like PlayStation, Capital One, Herman Miller, PayPal, T-Mobile, etc. So if you are facing challenges with like legacy systems and upgrades, or need to modernize, or need like a roadmap in terms of how to do that, we love talking to people about this. So you can learn more at this.labs, which is this.co. It's THISDOT.co. So Anthony, so you and I talked kind of like also prior to this conversation about like having people feel heard. How do you do that? I mean, I feel like in this day and age too, there's so many things that um, are coming up, right? Like, especially with like the remote work and just kind of like how our industry has changed, and, the 10 million things happening in this world. It's a lot to be able to support one person's needs, let alone 30. How do you do that? How do you handle that?
I think it starts from day one. Um, first day on the team, I'm sitting down, even if it's 5 minutes. I'm sitting down with people and I'm introducing myself and I'm making sure that I'm doing my best to start overcoming any weird boundaries that people may feel are put up. And then as as folks bring things to me, I drop what I'm doing and I make sure that conversation is that I'm focused on that conversation. I'm not distracted. It's close the computer, close all the devices, sit down. What's the problem? Um, empathize with the problem. Because regardless if I might agree with the problem or not, that doesn't change how this person is bringing it to me feels, and making sure that I understand that I understand that this is important to whomever I'm speaking with, and therefore it becomes important to me. And then taking steps from there and keeping people appraised to at least at a high level. Hey, here's the steps that I'm taking for whatever challenging problem you may have brought to me. Because generally, if it's going to be a challenging problem, it's probably going to be a process problem, or something with people or something like that. Making sure that I'm consistently following up with whomever brought something to my attention and as a problem, and letting them know what is happening with it. Um, I can't solve everything though, so that's where it gets really tricky. Is when you can't necessarily resolve a problem in a way that somebody brought something to you. In that case, I do my best to just remain open. Hey, here's why we were unable to do it. Um, and openness, honesty, that goes a long way when you're unable to deliver on solving something like that. And it's really important to me that I'm completely transparent. That, hey, just I'm here. If something comes up, it's bothering y'all. You can trust that I'm gonna put my head down. I'm gonna do my best to work it out. And if I'm unable to get it worked out, I'm gonna explain to you why I couldn't do it. Um,
Yeah, I love that. Being able to, again, just go high level and work across the organization, but then also be able to just still have those personal relationships, or want to have those personal relationships with the team, is a lot. Um, you talked about being in pizza for what, 10 years?
20 years. General manager for
20,
10 years.
oh, 20 years. Okay. So being in that for 20 years, how do some of those skills translate to your job currently?
I think the first one is kind of the previous question we were just talking about is, hey, how do you make people feel heard? And
Hmm.
part of my job was making very angry customers feel like I heard them and that I was listening to them and that whatever issue they had was important.
Hmm.
Um, that and that to me that's kind of where my empathy really started, was really trying to understand why is this person so upset, and not letting it get to me. That helped a lot too, picking those skills up to where understanding that depending on the pressures of a given situation, people may be maybe a little bit more critical of you than they would be normally. Just understanding that things are happening in their day to day that you have nothing to do with, but could be contributing toward that, and being able to let that go and continue to speak to them from a place of logic and reason and empathy.
Yes.
That was a huge one for me,
Yeah.
really, and handling all those kinds of calls. I mean, I was kind of the end, right, when people were really angry. I was the person that I got to talk to them,
Yeah.
and learned a lot of very valuable things by doing that.
Yes. I love it. You can turn like a, why isn't there pineapple on my pizza, to what's really bothering you today? And just,
The part that was really cool with it was you could take somebody who was really upset about their order and turn them into a lifelong customer if you handled it.
yeah.
Uh,
Yes. Yes, I
but
do love that.
you
Yeah.
definitely had the window to do that. And I
Yeah.
was fortunate to work for somebody that had been doing it forever. He passed on a lot of good tips there.
Okay, but I do have to ask you, I suppose, pineapple on pizza or no?
So I would tell you whatever somebody wants to put on their pizza is their prerogative. I'll make I like pineapple on my pizza personally.
Me
I
too.
can do it.
We always have the argument. I feel like that's a long-standing argument in tech too, right? Pineapple on pizza, TypeScript or JavaScript? I don't know, but these are two very important questions we must ask each other. um, yes. Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this was such a great conversation. How do we find you if we want to learn more about you?
Oh boy. I'm definitely on LinkedIn.
Okay.
That might be a little bit harder to find. Uh, and
Is
then
it the best place to contact you though?
probably is the best place to contact me. I'd say Twitter,
Okay.
but I really just use Twitter to follow folks like yourself. I don't really tweet very much. I use it more as an information source.
Yeah.
Though you can certainly reach out to me there. LinkedIn would be best.
Okay, awesome, cool. Well, thank you so much. Before we end, I just want to say again, give a shout out to my team. Thank you, team, for letting me do these types of interviews. Again, we get to work with really cool companies. We actually just worked with the Angular team on their Google I/O demo, so that was really fun. We built a game in Angular and TensorFlow, a snake game that you can
Oh,
you
nice.
can play it with your hands, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. But we get to work with them. We get to work with Meta, for example. We help them with the React documentation revamp. But we get to work with large companies that need sustainable architecture, need expert guidance, etc. So again, you can check us out, this.co. You can always email me, Tracy at this.co as well. That's THISDOT.co. And we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, Anthony.
Thank you, Tracy. You take care.